Shelf from Scrap Secrets, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is day 2 in the Countdown to Christmas series for 2021, and we're going to make this 4-layer scene with a Turnabout stamp set. You're going to need some temporary tape, pieces of cardstock, the jig for the Turnabout, as well as the Turnabout stamp set itself with the guide. We're going to be using 3 colors of ink as well as embossing powder for the last layer. The first thing I'm going to do is separate the white from the colored cardstock, and then we're going to take some temporary tape and temporarily adhere the pieces together. Now you could measure these out so that they're spaced out exactly evenly. I eyeballed them because it doesn't bother me if it's not exactly perfect. And you'll see in the end result that I was off slightly, so it kind of goes off to the side, but it's not a big deal. So you're going to temporarily adhere all 4 pieces of white cardstock together. And you're going to use this just like it was one piece of cardstock when you go to do the Turnabout. Next, you're going to need a stamping tool. And I use the Misty. I'm going to put the jig in my Misty, so you can see that's the bottom piece right there that I'm actually adhering this to. Actually, don't do that first. You're actually going to want to put it in your Misty. There is an X on it, and there also comes with the stamp set a guide. You want to line the guide up perfectly with that X. Then what you're going to do is the guide is printed exactly with the stamp set. So you want to line the stamp set up as best you can on top of that so that you don't overlap any of your stamps when you keep changing the Turnabout. So once that's all done, then you're going to take your piece of cardstock that you temporarily put together all those layers for, put some temporary adhesive on the back of that, and put it into the Misty or whatever stamp platform you're using. There are etch marks in it to kind of show you where the paper needs to go, and it is a little bit smaller than a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch like a normal card base would be, so I kind of just centered it in all of those marks. Now I'm going to take some Hero Arts Mid-Tone Red Royal ink up the stamp, and stamp it down. Because there are layers on here, I did have to stamp it a couple of times and put some pressure on it with the dry eraser just so that I could make sure that everything was stamped perfectly. So I cut out all of me opening and closing it, and I just, inked it up a couple of times, and here you go. There's the final result. Now I wanted it to be red, green, red embossed. So you're going to see that I actually did 2 turns on this. But if you're going in order, you want to go 1 turn each time. Go the same direction, and there are numbers on each of the corners so you can keep an eye on which way you're going. So if you go counterclockwise every single time. Clockwise, go clockwise every single time. It doesn't matter which direction you go, you just don't want to double stamp. And it's very easy to tell before you press it down. You just make sure that you're not stamping over any other images. So that second one was MFT Red Hot, and the reason that I stamped the 2 reds first was because I didn't want to have to keep cleaning off my stamp set. If you do a lighter shade and then a darker shade of something, which I did opposite, you don't have to scrub off that color as much. But when you're going from red to green, red and green will make mud, so I wanted to make sure my stamp was cleaned off really well, and I didn't want to have to clean it off so many times. Now we're going back in with the elf green and doing that 3rd layer. It doesn't matter, you only had to turn it 1 direction or 1 turn this time because there are still 2 turns left to do. And then I kind of messed up here. I was supposed to use my powder tool, and I didn't because I'm going to emboss, and that was my mistake. I really should have done that, and I don't know why I didn't. I think I was just so excited to get this done because I've never made one of these cards before. So I actually stamp it out. The cat actually jumped up onto my desk. I had to erase everything. I had to take all of the powder off of it. I went back and put the powder tool on, lined everything back up, and stamped it again. And I realized I had stamped the green images both in Versamark. So you're going to see a little bit of green, you're going to see a little bit of the embossing powder. It's not exactly the way that I wanted it to come out, because you can see here the embossing powder got everywhere. This is before the cat jumped up and I, ended up erasing everything. So I did a lot of that stuff off camera because you really didn't need to see me fixing my mistakes. Now here's where you're going to see the heat gun being heated up. This is a Wagner heat gun, and we're just going to go over the images, and you can see that the temporary tape came off. It doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure that you can still line your images up. Make sure they're all going in that same direction, because we are going to put the green cardstock behind it and kind of create layers. Now I'm taking some Honeybee Be Creative glue, putting it on the back of all of the white pieces of cardstock, and then adhering them to the green. There's going to be a little border around each of the layers, and then you can see the middle part of the image is gone. So we are going to be layering these up so it looks like one seamless image, but you're going to have some cardstock in between each layer. So I think it gives it a really, really neat effect, and it looks like it was very difficult to do, but it's so, so simple. Now I'm just adhering the first and the second layers together, and what I did was I just kind of tried to line up the images the best that I could. It doesn't matter if it's not absolutely perfect, it's going to still look good to the eye. Oh, I'm just taking my time and layering all of these together. So I hope that you guys are enjoying this series. If there's anything that you want to see, please let me know. I'm going to be working on some shakers and possibly some watercolor. And if you haven't checked out our series, we are also doing a Halloween series at the same time. I know it seems kind of weird to be doing Halloween and Christmas at the same time, but I have a lot of Christmas cards to make, and we're doing the 31 days of Halloween. I'm posting every Wednesday, and then we're all posting the 1st and the 31st. I'll leave that information as well in the more information section. If you guys want to check it out, there will be videos. There are 7 of us, so everybody has a day. Anyway, back to this card. So now that whole background is done, and now we're going to put it on a red card base. So I cut a piece of cardstock down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Well, when it's closed, that's the size of the cardstock. So it was 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and then scored at 4 1/4. And we're going to stamp Merry Christmas in that same MFT Elf Green ink. And that's the card. It was a pretty quick and simple one. I think that you guys can easily replicate it. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I'm going to glue the front piece on, and that is the card for today. I hope that you guys are enjoying this series. Let me know down in the comments if there's anything else you would like me to create. I will be back next week with days 3 and 4 of the Christmas series, as well as some Halloween inspiration. I'll see you guys again real soon for another video.